Welcome back. Let's continue our dream together. Sublime dreamer. Nice having you in my dream. Nice to be in your dream. So let's say you want to practice this dream more. It's a perfect situation for practicing consciousness of the world as a dream. But you try to do this around your house, they'll say, why are you absent-minded? Well, maybe you get so good that you can practice the consciousness of a dream, that this is a dream, while not appearing absent-minded. But it's best to just, when you have a day off, if it doesn't involve complex relationships or work, just say, today is my free day, I'm going to make a dream day here. What it does is it calms the intensity of the outer world and Maya and keeps the outer world and the thoughts and the feelings from overshadowing your pure being. So it's a beautiful thing to have. And of course, it's fun to run around for days at a time practicing the consciousness of the world as a dream. But most people don't function well when they're doing this inner work. So best to just take a day, a free day, and practice consciousness all day. Wake up. This is all a dream. And you'll begin to understand what Buddha was talking about. It's all evanescent. It's all changing all the time. It's not a reality. We think it is. We try to make with our minds and consciousness, we try to make it seem like a reality. It's not. It's forever changing. It's not the reality. So go, Buddha would say, to nirvana, a mind without stain, just a clear mind, See the world as evanescent. Yes. It's similar technique. I don't know if they're exactly the same or not. Same ballpark, but I would hesitate to say they're just the same because there's a benefit to be gained by seeing it as a movie and a benefit. That's a way to develop buddhi. So I'm just saying, on a free day, it's good to practice the consciousness of the world as a dream when you have a free day, because if you practice it at work, you might seem a little too spacey or otherworldly. So do your dream practices when you're busy in the world on a free day, not necessarily when the head man, the CEO, is coming to town to recruit you. Although it might work better than what most people do. Anyway. So, okay. That said, so as you practice consciousness of the world as a dream, you begin to find this thing we described as the seer, and you begin to find an awareness of spirit, this essence that's everywhere that you don't see when you're stuck in your senses. Sri Yukteswar, the great yogi, the guru of Paramahansa Yogananda, said more, if failure comes, say it's a dream. In a way it is, you see. In a way it is. It's not the main thing that's going on. It just seems to be. In the sense world, the relative world. If failure comes, say, it's a dream. Then dismiss the thought of failure from your mind. So we should take a minute to grok that thought. Let's think of a recent disaster, or a failure, or, something didn't work out right, or we were misunderstood. We tried to be understood, and we were misunderstood. So we're doing this part of Sri Yukteswar. If failure comes, say it's a dream. Then dismiss the thought of failure from your mind. So here we go. Trying to recall an actual down day where some kind of failure happened. And try to look at it now as it's all a dream anyway. That's a dream too. Say it's a dream and dismiss the thought of failure from your mind. It helps you to return to your true nature. If failure comes, say it's a dream. Dismiss the thought of failure from your mind. Let's do it. A little bit. Very good. So that's a nice practice, especially when you're keenly hurting inside. That's the ego, mind, and emotions churning. It's not even your true self. That's where you're stuck. Okay. This helps you return to spiritual oneness and wholeness, to spirit itself. Sri Yukteswar goes on, in the midst of difficulties, practice opposition by thinking and acting in a positive, constructive manner. In the midst of, and those are my words, it's something like difficulties. In the midst of your difficulties, practice opposition by thinking and acting in a positive, constructive manner. So we should do that part too. So in our dream, if there's a lot of opposition going on, we practice opposition to that opposition by thinking and acting in a positive, constructive manner. Let's do that. Just think of a struggle that's going on, and instead of letting the level of the debate or behavior get more negative, just in this dream of life, act in a positive, constructive manner. Away we go. Very good. Very good. Okay. Play with it today. Just play with this whole possibility of the world as a dream, and also practice the seer. Now, one more thing we better cover, the grit side. We better get onto the grit side. The seer will help you cross the river. But you also need true grit. Those waves are mighty high. The power, the force of the current is scary. So easy to go downstream, to just go with the world for the next 5,000 lifetimes. So easy to go that way. You also need true grit. Courage and steadfastness. Very much a part of the spiritual path and the ability to make the crossing. The world may often be scary. It is scary. Our lives may often be scary too. So how do we get and maintain and increase courage? Courage, definition, time out for a definition. And it's nicely said, very often a dictionary has so much wisdom. The attitude of facing and dealing with anything recognized as dangerous, difficult, or painful. We face what appears or is recognized as dangerous, difficult, or painful. That's courage. Instead of withdrawing from it, we just give up or go away. That's cowardice or feebleness, or mistake. The quality of being fearless or brave, valor. Courage is often defined as feeling fear, but taking brave action in spite of fear. Sometimes there's that. In fact, a lot of psychologists say that's the main idea of courage. Of course you're afraid, but you act positively despite all these feelings of fear. How courageous are you? Can you look back and say, I was courageous? What events were you courageous? Did you have courage? There was opposition, danger, and you did not run from it. You faced up to it and dealt with it. Some of you are courageous. You do it every day. But it's human to kind of not do it, to feel a fear and run away. This past year, can you cite 5 acts of courage that you have personally been an instrument of? Very often we are most cowardly at life's junctures. That's what the Bhagavad Gita is all about. This magnificent warrior, Arjuna, now he has to face this huge army. And a lot of them, well, there's his archery teacher over there. There is a stepbrothers, 101 stepbrothers, and my goodness, he's got to fight all these people he loves, but they've been treating him pretty rotten. They made him go into exile, go on the lam for 12 years, you know. Anyway, he's frightened and he throws down his bow and his spear and his weapons and gets dejected. And it's about empowering you as a devotee to cross the river, basically, the Bhagavad Gita, this beautiful book, because Krishna says, why this unmanly behavior, you know, and helps him to understand that he came to earth to do this fight. He came here, he was born for the very purpose of this fight. Very often, these big events in our life, they're exactly what we need. And very often, we get feeble. We do the Arjuna thing. We just cave in, make all kinds of excuses. And we keep being reincarnated until we have grit, ability to face up to our challenges. Anyhow, so we're in the life juncture question. At the important, really pressured moments of your life, were you courageous or did you get feeble? There's a temptation to be fearful and get feeble. What happened to you at these big events, these big moments, key moments in your life? What happened? You go ape, you know, in a rage maybe? That's the same thing. You get very weak in your rage. Just become utterly inappropriate, not relating to the situation and dealing with it. Go postal. You know, going postal. That's one way that works. It scares everybody. But it's a way of avoiding an issue you can't face because you're cowardly. So, pick out 2 or 3 of your life's junctures. What happened? For your own information. Coward and feeble, or go postal and angry but not deal with the problem, not be able to face it, get feeble one way or another, or deal with it directly and well. What happened to you? Because this is one of the main lessons of life. At the junctures of life, was there courage? Just to find out. So we peek. We're looking for courage. Did courage happen, or do we need to really work on courage? Did courage happen on your part? Okay. Do you see how nice it would be if you could have gone to your booty and seen things clearly instead of get enfeebled or troubled? Well, we're talking on the courage part, but boy, if we could have just gone clear-minded and dealt with it, it would have been so much better. So booty would have been very helpful there. And very often, courageous people have booty. They see it clearly and they see what needs to be done. They face up to it. So we got all kinds of stories we could tell here, but we don't have that much time. So we're going to just note in our own mind, it's human, big challenge. It's human to be afraid and, oh no, we got to deal with this. Then what happens? It's human to react with fear, but what do? Do you then face and deal with it, or do you do all kinds of strange behavior to avoid it, or to ignore it, or to go along with it? What do? Know yourself. I'm not saying you should answer, but I'm saying you got to answer inside, because if you find I am cowardly when it comes to big moments in my life, I am cowardly. Okay, practice yoga. If you're cowardly, it's normal. Okay, so how do I cultivate clarity of sight about this instead of awfulizing it or terrorizing my consciousness? How do I also cultivate courage? Well, one thing you can just say, Lord, please give me courage. Sometimes you feel fear. You say, Lord, please give me courage. You just ask for courage to face this and deal with it. Because it's the most unpleasant thing you can think of, facing this and dealing with it. Just ask for it. Lord, please give me courage. And very often that works. But there are some other wonderful things, because you got courage inside you. It's a matter of tuning in with it. Okay. If you're not courageous at life's junctures, that means Maya swept you away. You went downstream. You didn't cross the river there. You got swept away. Courage is key to being able to stay in there and make this crossing instead of giving up. Giving up comes from, the reaction of fear, which makes us cowards. This is why the spiritual path emphasizes faith. The idea of faith is you're going to have courage to face life's problems. Faith, conviction in the Creator's presence and care and goodness and power. It's a wonderful thing. You'll be very strong or made strong. You'll be lifted up in these scary moments, in these trials. Encourage. To encourage means to give courage to. I was encouraged by that. We mean actually, that's kind of a bland word now, but it means I was given courage, So you want to enjoy people who encourage you, and reading that encourages you instead of makes you more feeble. Or what was the word that Krishna uses, kind of the term feeble-minded. You don't want to get feeble-minded in times of challenge, in times that are really important to you. A lot of people get feeble-minded in a yoga terminology. It's encouraging to believe that Spirit, God, is here. Believe in the presence of God. God didn't leave me just now because I got challenged. God's here. So very often just sensing God is here. Think of the word encouragement. What encourages you? But one of the most encouraging things when you're facing a challenge is to simply think something like, God is here. God loves me. God cares about me. God will help me through this. That kind of attitude. Just instead of the absence of God, which tends to happen, think of the presence of God. So that's the first one we'll do. Just think of a challenge and open the mind and heart to God is here. God loves me, cares about me. God will help me through this. Just think of a challenge, if you would, and proceed with that kind of understanding. Because there is already courage available. We're just so afraid. We don't tune in with courage, we tune in with fear. So the idea is, for courage, tune in with it. Let it happen. Amen. So enjoy that kind of thought and practice it so that when a big event that threatens comes upon you, you know what to do. Just, it's kind of like training, like jumping out of a plane, with a parachute. Getting used to just kind of get practiced accessing courage in little threatening things, or in recalling how you could have accessed courage instead of gone ape or gone feeble. Just think, how could I access my courage in this or that event that I've already been through, where I showed my postal self or my feeble self? How could I relate to this in a much more, productive way, a more spiritual way, instead of destructive? Okay. Now, got a few more. Another way, which we won't take the time to do because it might take you a day, it's called praying through. A Christian phrase, praying through. You start with your doubts and your fears, and you keep praying until you're full of courage. You pray all the way from being scared to feeling love and light filling you and giving you courage. You pray through. You say all your thoughts. You just question things, whatever you want. You just talk to God until you've got courage. And that's called, or let's say you're so sad because something's happening. Praying through, you'd pray until you're comforted. All kinds of wonderful stories of people who pray sincerely, but they don't just throw it in there and quit. They pray until the change happens. So you might, especially when times are tough, if they're ever tough for you, pray through. And very often you come out the other end so blessed. You're so glad the event happened because look what blessing you got. When it's happening, you think, this is the most terrible thing that could ever happen to me. And you pray through and you think, gee, that's one of the best things that ever happened to me. Okay, next one. Selfish motive tends to make us weak. When you're just saying, I, me, mine, very often that makes you so feeble. And then you're cowardly. Scared. So, selfish motive often makes us cowards. So you seek purity. You release coveting. You release wanting what other people have. You release your desires and strive to be pure in mind and heart. And very often, courage comes when you have a different motive, a motive more suitable to courage. If you got a strong motive that's just plain selfish, you expect to be added in courage. Courageous people are those usually who are thinking of others and not thinking of themselves at all. Okay, so I'll just keep going. But that's a wonderful one to spend time with too. Purifying the motives, and a lot of courage will come. Another way is, in a sense, we talked about praying through. Another one is to meditate through. Because if you meditate deeply, you'll remember this. Every time you have a good meditation, don't you come out comforted? No matter what was going wrong, how futile your life seemed, you come out comforted. Well, that's part of what meditation is. Meditation gives you comfortus. The word comfort means C-U-M, with, Latin, with, fortis, bravery. Comfortus. The word comfort comes from comfortus. Means being instilled with bravery. When you meditate deeply, your seer and the power within you expresses. You come out comforted, instilled with bravery, ready to face the day, the life, the problem. So when you meditate well, you'll always feel comforted, right? It's those meditations that don't do well, you don't feel comforted. But you meditate well, you have a good, rich, deep meditation. You're going to come out with bravery, instilled with bravery, comforted. It's comforting to meditate. Okay, there is a place in you where courage is stored. Well, there are a few places, but one of the main things you can do to develop courage is to meditate in your third chakra, the navel chakra, inside the spine, back of the navel. Focus there and do it a few minutes a day, like 5 minutes a day. You're going to see yourself as a more courageous person. You'll be unfolding. Or you could spend a longer time there. You're a courage carrier. And by paying attention to it, you let it out more. It'll come forth times when you need it, more easily and readily and beautifully. So, third chakra meditation is excellent for cultivating courage. And then another one is third eye meditation. Third eye, very often you sense more clearly the seer. You get into the seer, the witness, powerfully, profoundly. And it's also a place where you get into the courage, kind of like a junction place of the seer and courage, your third eye. And you can also see the world as a dream from your third eye, too, a kind of dream, a more magnificent dream. So, those are, I better repeat them, various ways that you can develop courage. One is, in a life event, allow yourself to be encouraged by opening your mind and heart with the thought, God is here. God hasn't gone away. God is here. God loves me, or God is like a mother to me, a father to me. God is my friend. God cares. God didn't cease to exist because you had a challenge and are having an adrenaline moment. Be open to God's presence at that time. Another way is to pray through. And if you pray through from your fears and everything, just relating to God about them, you arrive in courage. Another way is to purify selfish motive. Very often, selfish motive just makes you want to cringe and become a ball, a cowardly ball. That's a human tendency, but if you purify your motive, just what do I want here? Why do I want it, Am I neglecting thought of others and their welfare? Am I selfishly focusing on me? And if you purify your motive, release coveting, release desires, sense the good of all, that motive change will often make a lot of courage available to you. Another way was not to pray through, but to meditate through. Any meditation that goes deep, just focusing on God with love, or in your meditation practice, whatever it is, just go deep. You will find comfort, the sense of you're loved and all is well and things will be well and don't worry, assurance. All of that is courage. Comfort comes from the Latin comfortus, instilled with bravery. Another way to develop bravery and courage is third chakra meditation. And yet another way is third eye meditation. So that said, lots of possibilities in this magnificent gift of life we've got. We're equipped so mightily and wondrously. It's just astonishing. All that we can have access to instead of piddling around. And the main practice that opens a lot of this to you is practice a consciousness of the world as a dream. That frees you so much from the overshadowing and impingement of the world, the senses, the mind, the heart, the emotions, and the ego. It allows you more clearly to sense your true self and the being of spirit everywhere. So practice the consciousness of the world as a dream. Also, during quiet moments, practice just seeing everything without commentary. And then practice seeing inside. Look inside. And practice the same attitude of just being a seer. You can clean it up other times in there. You can deal with it at other times. Right now you're dealing with life by developing the seer as distinct from the mind and the heart. Also, cultivate grit. Courage and steadfastness. Steadfastness is constancy of courage and effort. Steadfast, constant in your courage and effort, never flagging. So, the one thing needful is to cross the river of the world. The one thing needful. As you do that, you meet and relate to all kinds of people, have all kinds of experiences. But the question is, does a river sweep you away or do you cross? Beautiful analogy. The one thing needful is to cross the river of the world. We think so many other things are more needful. Okay, let's launch into a round of Q&A about any problems or concerns you have regarding today's material, or yesterday, last night. Courage, true grit, and unshakable booty being parts of a yogi's equipment. You're a yogi if you've got unshakable booty and true grit. But chances are you've gone beyond that into samadhi and beyond that into liberation. But true grit, so important, unshakable booty. Basic equipment for a real yogi, you know. You can be a yoga student, a yoga devotee, an aspirant, but yogi, the yoga cutoff level there, you got to have an unshakable booty, and well, you had to have samadhi too. But unshakable booty, true grit, very much a part of the path. Do not be stampeded by the world. Be clear. Decide. Choose. Don't just do the herd thing. Or the herd will all be going downstream. And you'll be going downstream with them. Okay. Right, if you practice life as a dream, you might tend to trivialize things and consider them unimportant when maybe they should be given more weight. Go on. Say, Lord, I want a good dream. It may be a dream. But I want a dream of performing well and helping people to be happy. You know, you can enrich your dreaming. And I'm paying attention to detail. And here's the idea of the dream, is that it's all unreal compared to the reality of spirit. So try to realize the reality of spirit, and when you do, then you strive to realize the reality of spirit in this event and in this person. It's a technique to cultivate wisdom. We don't say it's not wisdom that it's a dream. We're cultivating wisdom. We hope by practicing it's a dream, we find this wisdom. The wisdom in the view of yoga is the realization of spirit, and then the recognition of spirit everywhere and everyone and everything. Anything else? Yes. Meditation on courage. Sorry. You can meditate on the heart of a lion if you want, but they've got an ace to begin with, you know. And this lion, courage, who's threatening him? Man. I think I'll eat. Which of these gorgeous creatures do I run out there and eat now? And they eat. Want to eat? They eat. So, I'm not into lions for courage so much. Moving on. You might consider what to you is real courage. No, this is my seat, and I am not going to move from it, no matter what you do to me. You can arrest me, you can shoot me, but I've moved out of your way all my life. This is my seat. I'm a lady, I'm a little tiny lady. I'm going to sit here. Rosa Parks. Courage. Oh, the movement, the civil rights movement. Courage, 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 courage. There were guys standing there with bats, and they used them, and fire hoses, and people had their brains mushed, and people died, and they walked peacefully into that madness and that possible death. And vast numbers of our fellow citizens did this. That was courage. So there are a lot of instances of courage around us if we want to look for them. planes crash into the towers, the Twin Towers in New York. People running out, trying to save their life, and people running in, trying to save the lives of the people in there, running in to such an inferno. There's courage out there. Amazing courage. Congressional Medal of Honor winners, pretty much everyone as far as I know, except for those who fake it. Outstanding courage. But all kinds of courage around. Just be receptive. Keep your eyes open. A lot of courage happening. Anything else? Okay, so that's our Q&A. I suppose I should get to the meat of the material here. Yogis live with fire in their belly. We actually do have spiritual fire in our belly. It's latent with most people. Yogis kindle this, awaken this, stir this fire in their belly. It's spiritual energy. In fact, yogis, their spiritual energy is usually making a high-pitched roar like a lion. It's proclaiming spirit. You do yoga a while, your energies are going to be subtly proclaiming spirit, the reality of spirit, the presence of spirit. You don't have to be thinking it. You don't have to be saying it. Your energy is proclaiming spirit, the reality of spirit, the presence of spirit, the holiness of spirit, the wonder of spirit, the glory of spirit. Just rip-roaring from your navel chakra and other chakras, but a particularly nice, strong roar from the navel chakra. We have a superconscious roar. You can't hear it with your physical ears, but it's sensed spiritually. Beyond physical hearing. Fills the atmosphere, subtly influences the atmosphere. It roars Om. It roars the sound of oneness and wholeness. With the vastness, it roars that. If your chakra is moving, it's just, you're entering a room and there is this beautiful vibration. You're roaring Om at a superconscious or spiritual level. Navel chakras awake, it roars Om. Sense of oneness. All is one, all is spirit. Those are all words expressing at a lower vibration. It is this sensation in your presence of oneness. Roaring. You roar like a yogi. It thus roars harmony within that Om, within that oneness. It roars love. It roars Om, harmony, love, oneness. It might roar other things because of other chakras and things, but there's this mighty roar that you carry with you. And as long as you're attuned and there's a spiritual energy moving in the navel chakra, this beautiful roar is filling the atmosphere. And it's helping everybody else to sense oneness and love and their spiritual nature. Being alive and being more awakened and stirred. There's this beautiful sound at a very high spiritual level coming out of you. So, Catholic monastics that I've been blessed to know have a set of roars that they do. They're called ejaculations, such as God is here, or God is love, or God is Lord. They just think them and they feel them, and it's just exclamations, not little declarative things, just within their being, or sometimes out loud. They just shout them inside. Or they can open their mouth and do it. The nuns I knew, they loved just now and then, something within them, they just shout out some truth. They fill their life and their atmosphere and wherever they go with these very profound, wonderful, very brief, just shouts. God is love. God is all in all. So that's a beautiful way to get into this roaring business too. All religions silently roar their scriptures and verses. For example, in yoga, you could have your own set of roars. Control the 5 kinds of ideas. Dwell in my true nature. Or from the Bible, all things work together for good for those who love the Lord. Or Buddha, It's a mistake to identify this passing life with the changeless life of truth. It's a mistake to think this is so real. It's a mistake. A wise person, another Buddha, I just got into my Buddha bit. A wise person recognizing that the world is but an illusion does not act as if it is real. So she escapes the suffering. Whatever that means. Profound. Ramakrishna, in all times and all events, affirm this is God's Leela, God's divine play. Blockbusters, you know. And there are metaphysical treatments. John is well and healthy, and he walks the earth in joy and gladness, you know, things like that. Metaphysical treatments. There are all kinds of affirmations in yoga and in spiritual truth, affirmations about, you know, I am at peace, I am well, I am whole, that kind of thing. So, there are all kinds of ways to inwardly roar. And now and then, you might want to say it out loud too, but roar. Not just sing, roar. Third chakra stimulation is another good one. You just go to your third chakra, find the third chakra, and then chanting Ram, R-A-M, in the third chakra is particularly helpful for awakening that roar of spirit. So, that about concludes the ideas. The main thing is to have the third chakra functioning, and it roars. That's the main thing. Let your third chakra be alive, and it will be roaring wherever you go.
Bless your heart.